Game 3, Warriors Rockets, two of Rick Barry's former teams. I think your only two former teams in the NBA clashing. I've got the Hall of Famer joining us, one of the greatest to ever do it. There's a lot to talk about. Jimmy Butler's injury, Draymond Green being, in my opinion, robbed of Defensive Player of the Year, but he's also in the news because Dillon Brooks is calling him dirty. Jonathan Kuminga, we got to talk about that. Rick, are you ready to go, sir?
I was born ready, Cyrus.
Yes, you were.
Great minds think alike with the shirts.
And this is the Golden Age.
They always find something to nitpick, and that's because there's expectations for us to win.
We are going to win the championship.
Wow. Let's go.
In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Oh, you can't handle the truth when Rick Barry's in the house. You can follow the Hall of Famer on pretty much, I believe, every social media platform at Rick24Barry. Sir, it is great to see you. How are you doing today?
Oh, great to see you. Hey, when you get to be my age, every day is a great day when you wake up.
That's a positive.
Some are better than others, but they're all great.
That is positivity. And we've got a lot to discuss pertaining to the Golden State Warriors. But before we do that, got to give some love to the folks paying the bills, supporting this operation. First up, and Rick, I'm going to use this this client more specifically, as an excuse to ask you a question. And that question is, what kind of music do you like? Because I don't think we've covered this at all. I'm curious. I'm sure a lot of people are curious.
Well, if this is a company that provides the great music from the various decades, I will love it because I'm not up to a lot of the stuff that's there today. I'm kind of like from the old. It's nice when I could actually understand the lyrics and actually what the words were.
Yes,
and I'm basically an oldies guy. Okay, from the time that I grew up, the different decades. Like for me, it started, I would say, in the late 50s and then into the 60s, especially, and the 70s. Once you get beyond that, I still, like a lot of music, and I still like, other genres. I mean, I enjoy some of the country western stuff. I mean, Hootie and the Blowfishers, Darius Rucker. Well, I became friends with Darius and I used to love his stuff with Hootie, and he became a country western star. I like his work. I like the work of a lot of country western people. Shania Twain, unbelievable. I mean, I can go on and on with the country western people. So I enjoy all that. And I love good jazz, good blues. I mean, so it's just a matter of where I am, what mood I'm in, what I feel like listening to. And I'm not a big fan of rap. I mean, I'm just not. And and I respect what the guys do. I think I worked for Ice Cube for years doing stuff at the Big Three. Stuff he does, the popularity he has, it's awesome. And that's the beauty of life, Cyrus, is that you have all of these things to choose from. If everybody liked all the same things, how freaking boring would that be?
Absolutely. You're
all those people on TV, all those reporters for Political, they would have to fire them because everybody likes everything. So what do you need them for?
And the band sponsoring us they're called Decades, among many reasons. I'm guessing because they cover music spanning nearly every decade that at least popular culture has embraced music. We're talking Chuck Berry to Katy Perry, everything from the 50s, Rick, as you mentioned, to today, music for all age groups, from a band who is Warriors fans, is Niners fans. I know for the Niner faithful, the draft is taking a lot of your attention right now. This band, Decades, actually plays at every 49ers home game before it starts. They're the band for the Red Zone rallies next door at Great America, and you can book them for your event, whether that event's a wedding, a company event, an anniversary, a fundraiser, a birthday, or even a good old-fashioned backyard rager. Go visit decadesofficial.com, book a band who's local here in Northern California, from Chico more specifically, or email Kyle@atomicmusicgroup.com. Again, Kyle@atomicmusicgroup.com. Tell them we sent you, or just visit decadesofficial.com for more information. Book them today. They will rock and roll with the Catalina wine mixer and any other event you could think of. Today's episode also brought to you by Visit Humboldt, one of the most beautiful places in the world, in my humble opinion, at least. It's gorgeous. I try to make trips up there at least once a year. I used to call the place home when I went to school at Humboldt State University. They now call themselves Cal Poly Humboldt, which I still trip out about. And it's free to visit. And if you're looking for a place to stay, check out visithumboldt.com. You can also DM me for more information. I will set you up again, because I used to call Arcata, California, where Cal Poly Humboldt is located. I once called it home. I still go back at least once a year just because of how beautiful and incredible the national parks, state parks, the redwoods, the sequoias, the beaches, the wineries, the breweries, the restaurants. There is so much to do. Go check it out and thank me later. Visit Humboldt.com. But right now, my attention.
I got to jump in before we get into stuff here, because there's some stuff you did there and it's great. The decades, they sound like the unbelievable to have them at your place, because you can appease so many people because they can sing from all these different, decades and the old. I mean, come on, that's cool in and of itself. So they're great. I hope I get a chance to see them sometime live. That would be awesome. And so that's really cool. And then the other thing is, with Humboldt, and you said Humboldt. You said, "Am I Humboldt?" Was that your Humboldt opinion or your Humboldt? Okay, I had to kick that one out there. I really had to throw that one out there. But the decade's terrific. I mean, those guys and ladies. I guess I don't know how many ladies. I know they have one lead singer I saw. But
yeah, I saw that too.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that'd be cool. Like, I'm having my son Canyon got engaged over Christmas. They're going to get married next June, and that would be so cool if a group like that was in the area and we're having a welcome party for all the people coming into town and before the wedding, and a group like that would be freaking awesome to have. I mean, that would
Canyon's getting married
next week. Yeah, in June, next June.
Jeez,
not next June, the June after next year.
I remember meeting him when he was like, 7? He was just a little kid.
Hey, this is the most profound thing. I've said it many times that my father ever told me. And listen to this, all of you who are listening, you'll appreciate this as you get older. Son, the older you get, the faster the years go by. That is an understatement. I can't believe that I'm 81 years old. I have my youngest son is now 31 years old. I mean, it's crazy.
That is crazy. That is insane. Again, I knew Canyon since he was a wee little kid. That is wild, sir. Congratulations in advance. And decades when you played.
Hey, by the way, Humboldt is breathtaking up there. I've been there. That's a great place to visit. If you want to go and visit someplace special, California has a lot of wonderful things. The state itself is screwed up, but they couldn't take away from the beauty because that's natural. Okay.
Real quick here, when you played for the Warriors in the 70s and then right around 1980s when you went to the Houston Rockets, did you ever meet or develop a relationship with Eddie DeBartolo, the former owner of the 49ers? His sister is now the owner, but because of a riverboat scandal, true story, a riverboat gambling boat scandal, more specifically, if I got that correct. Did you ever know Eddie D?
No, I never had the pleasure of meeting him, but I really respected what he did because he was one of those guys. He was like Franklin Muley, who loved this team, loved the players, wanted to do what's right for the players. I mean, I know when those guys had success, he took the team and their wife, everybody over to Hawaii for a trip and doing things. I mean, he really was a very giving guy and a magnanimous type of a person and an outgoing personality, not to the extent of a Jerry Jones or some of the other people, but it's unfortunate that he got caught up in that crazy scandal, but at least he kept it in the family.
And I do wonder if that happened today, if he would experience the same issues that he did back then. I feel like gambling was much more frowned upon in the 1990s.
Come on, David Stern is turning over in his grave right now.
He is. But I brought up Eddie D because Decades the band, one more time, our sponsor, played Eddie D's private event at his home in Montana, which is why I was asking if you're familiar with Eddie D. If I did know him and he had a place in Montana, I wish I did because he probably had some great fishing up there. Oh, hell yeah. Are you friends with Phil Jackson, by the way? Like, are you, I know you played against him. I think when I think of Montana, I think of him and Dave Letterman. Like, did you have a relationship with Phil? With Phil Jackson? No, well, Phil and I, we went on the tour overseas playing. Phil was player coach, and he came. Bobby Dandridge was on the trip. Pete Maravich. That was one of my most fun things ever. That's the only basketball I played after I retired, which I didn't want to do because they cut the rosters to 11. I was going to go with the Celtics. I was still in great shape and had a chance to go on that tour. And I mean, my God, I felt so. It was like Cyrus. I swear,
I don't like to think about the past and stuff, but that's a killer because I would have loved to have gotten to play with the Celtics and those guys, and I hadn't felt that good in 10 years and never got to play another game because the NBA, to save money, cut the rosters from 12 to 11. And now
for like 1 year, right? Was it just one season they did that?
Yes, one season.
And you got screwed.
I'm sorry. It wasn't meant to be, and I had to learn to deal with that. But, so going from that to have a chance to play with those guys, it would have been unbelievable to now to see what's happened. They cut the rosters to 11. Now the lowest paid guy in the NBA, and there's like 18 of them on a roster now, some ridiculous number, who hardly ever plays, is making twice as much money as I made in my best season.
Yes, sir.
Seriously.
Unless you're a G Leaguer. I feel like the G Leaguers are still kind of grinding a little bit, but
I'm
you're
talking
right.
about the NBA. I'm not talking about the G League.
Yeah,
I'm
the
talking
NBA.
about the NBA. The guy who has an NBA contract with all of the benefits and stuff they get for, the properties and all the other things they get, they're making at least $1 million or more. So they're making twice as much money as I made in my best year. They don't even play. And I couldn't go to the Celtics because to save money, the league cut the roster from 12 to 11. So that tells you how quickly and how things changed, although that was quite a while ago, but still, it's pretty amazing.
It is remarkable. The growth of the NBA is wild from where it's been to where it is today. And we'll finally dive into it 11 minutes in. Thank you for your patience, everyone. We're going to talk Warriors, and we're going to get into it right now. First things first, Steve Kerr addressed the media today and gave an update on Jimmy Butler. And nothing is official. He's listed as questionable on the injury report with a bruised gluteus maximus. Basically, his butt hurts really bad, the tailbone area more specifically, but he's going to be okay. It's a pain threshold issue. And Rick, when we talked about this earlier in our pre-show meeting, you brought up a startling, like eye-opening anecdote about your own personal experience with a hard fall. Share with the audience what happened to you one time when it was
at the Oakland Arena, and I came down. Somebody, undercut and came down and landed on my back and stuff. And it was very scary, to tell you honestly. It was very scary. I try not to think about stuff like that, but I couldn't move my legs. And
that's crazy.
So I was really concerned. And so they carried
the waist down, or like do you remember where
it came down when my weight came down on it? I mean, it could easily, like hell, I did that with my bicycle, came down on the side, and I fractured my pelvis in 6 places. So I was lucky that I didn't break a pelvis or hip or something like that on that fall. I just hit, but it was, I guess, pretty flat and square. So it wasn't like one side got all of it. It was kind of dispersed, and it was a really obviously hit the nerves or whatever, and a bruise. And so I went back and we got working. Fortunately, the feeling started to come back, and I'm doing it and warming up, and I was able to move. They said, look, I said, well, can I play? I said, can I go back and play? Well, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't like a concussion or something, but I mean, still, I wanted to go play. And they said, well, if you want to do that, you got to go right now while that thing's warm, because if that sucker gets cold, no telling what's going to happen, And so it's just really, so I went back and played, and I never really missed much time at all with it. But who knows what he's got? I mean, I actually made a call to Mike Dunleavy Jr. today and left a message saying, look, one of the companies I'm with, Medicaleaf, has a cannabinoid salve that's unbelievable, that has done wonders for me. I've seen do wonders for other people. It gets rid of inflammation and stuff. And that's what the area is that he's bruised. It's inflammation that's causing this concern. And you're talking about a pain threshold. This perhaps could help alleviate some of that inflammation. And so I call this, look, let me know. I said, I'll get the guy, I'll be able to get them and have it sent over to you. Don Schaefer, who's the owner, of Medicaleaf. And I'll get a jar of that over and tell him to just start putting it on. Put it on here, leave it on for a few hours, see it, put some more on. It can't hurt them, and it might be able to help them. I mean, but I haven't heard anything.
Well, look, Medicaleaf, icy hot, whatever the treatment is, I don't doubt Jimmy Butler's getting it.
I guarantee he doesn't have they're not putting Medicaleaf on it. Forget icy hot and all the other stuff. It can't even compare to what this product I've seen do.
Okay, and I trust you, sir. I believe it.
Cannabinoids, it would be great to help with the inflammation on the bruise that he has, and that's what he has. This is the perfect thing to try.
When you fell and you experienced numbness in your legs, which I can't even begin to imagine how frightening.
I couldn't move my legs,
or just complete, just atrophy. I guess. Like, And you came back. So, in your opinion, Jimmy Butler's a tough guy. I feel like you and him are cut from a similar cloth, at least in terms of toughness, gritting it out. Would you expect Jimmy Butler to play? I know you don't know the answer, but if you had to guess.
I from what I've seen of Jimmy Butler, I don't know him personally or what have you. I would be very surprised that if he doesn't play. I'd be surprised if he doesn't play. And if he doesn't play, then he's really hurting. I mean, it's making him so he can't move because he's not going to go out there from experience. I'm not going to go out and try to play if I can't play at the level I expect myself to play at, because that's a disservice to my team and it's a disservice to me.
Yes,
Let
sir.
one of the other guys who's healthy and doing stuff, I could be a detriment going in under those circumstances. So I'm sure Jimmy is thinking, not sure, but I would imagine that Jimmy is probably thinking the same way, that if I can't move and be as productive as I know I need to be for this team to do it, then let's give somebody else a chance to go out and see if they can get it done.
I can't get over the fact that you just lost feeling in your legs and you came back the same game.
I imagine. So when I see what happens to some of these football players, like Nick Bonacani, God rest his soul, and his son, with the Bonacani Fund and cure paralysis, which I've done a lot of work for over the years, I can't even imagine you get hit, do something, and all of a sudden you never get the feeling back. I guess so. I know. I mean, I know what it felt like to not have it. I'm just thinking, okay, that's it all the time. Crazy. What a life-changing event. So yeah, that was one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me.
Well, I'm glad you were okay, obviously, and I'm glad Jimmy Butler is going to be okay, because again, a bruised tailbone is not an injury that's going to last or linger or have adverse effects long term. It's a pain thing. I broke my tailbone once. It hurt like a bitch, but you get over it, you move on, and you feel better eventually. What was your reaction to game 2? That was a rollicking environment for Houston. For the Warriors, it was disheveled. It was what was your reaction?
It was a nightmare. Let's just come out and say, especially if Jimmy gets hurt, there early on, and forget it. Then I think the entire morale of the team just. I mean, to be honest with you, it's lucky they didn't get blown out by more. Seriously.
Right. Yeah, they were in it till the end.
Yeah. They fall into the trap that happens so often. It's happened so far in the playoffs for a lot of these teams in these series that are going on. The road team comes in and gets that first win, and they get that home court advantage back to themselves, and then they fall apart and get their ass kicked in the second game, which is basically what happened, I think, in another one of them. It happened to Minnesota, right, against the Lakers, right? But you see that happen so often. Man, you got them down. You got them down. You want to get them by the throat. So you win that second freaking game. I mean, you got to play harder and bust your hump in that second game, because they're coming out with everything they've got. And as well as you played in that first game, you have to match that intensity. In fact, even notch it up a little bit to match what they're going to do to have a chance to win that second game. And most teams don't do that. That's why you don't see a lot. That's why you don't see a lot of sweeps when stuff like that, when the road team wins that first game.
And this obviously leads to, the huge talking point has been Jonathan Kuminga gets DNP'd for 3 straight games. And Steve Kerr uses the excuse of fit, which it's lunacy. I feel like I've expressed my opinion on this plenty, but what we haven't heard a lot from or of is Jonathan Kuminga on how he feels about this. And after game 2, the media spoke to Jonathan Kuminga. More specifically, at least Sam Gordon of the San Francisco Chronicle had an opportunity to record the Q&A that he did sitting at his locker with various media members. And it was revealing, sir. And I can't wait to hear your reaction to this, Rick, if you don't mind us playing this, and then we'll hear your reaction to it. But here's Jonathan Kuminga spending about 2 minutes with the press after Games 2's loss. Again, the first time in 4 games he's played. I'm guessing the expectation was he was not going to play at all until Jimmy Butler got hurt, and then he gets thrust in there. Mixed results. Rust, I think, played a huge factor in this. Here is Jimmy Butler after the game, answering pretty much every question.
Not Jimmy Butler. Kuminga.
Yes. And here is, And here is, sorry about that. Here is Jonathan Kuminga after game 2, answering everything on your mind.
No matter what circumstance I'm in, you always got to stay ready. Because there's the moment and chances sometimes you don't get back. So, you always got to stay ready. But I feel like I've been ready. And, I hate the fact that everybody got to tell me every other time, get ready. Because in my mental, my mindset, I already know that I'm ready. The more you keep telling me, get ready, it's kind of irritating, but no, I'm always ready.
What do you do to stay ready?
What do I do?
Yeah, what do you do to stay ready?
I work out every day. Mm-hmm. I play with some of the guys here every other day, and just try to have a good spirit every single day. The more my spirits is where I want, that's how I stay ready.
Was it tough to get the DMPs to be told you weren't going to play?
I mean, it is tough, any player is going to be tough, but, what am I doing about it? At the end of the day, what you want to do about it? You just got to, like I said, you just got to stay ready. You got to stay, whenever your moment happens, it's going to happen bad. But for me, it was kind of, it's just looking at it, it's kind of like tough. But it's really nothing I can do about it, Can't complain about it. I can't do nothing about it, If I don't play, it's coach's decision. So,
Do you understand why?
I try not to think about it. I just try to stay ready. I try not to really even think about why I'm not playing or why I'm playing. So I try not to even think why I'm not playing. Because the more I think about that, the more it's not going to sit right in my head. So I just block all that noise and just stay focused on whenever I get my chance.
Did you feel any rust at all today?
I mean, I've been playing. It's humid over here. We play in this arena where there's no AC every other day. So, that just keeps me in shape with the rest of the guys. So, yeah.
How do you not have air conditioning in Houston every other day? But I digress. Rick, a lot to unpack there. Your reaction, sir?
Well, I admire the fact that he's, accepting it the way he's accepted it. I think that's being very professional on his part. And I think he did a nice job of answering what were difficult and questions that needed to be answered and asked and answered. I thought he did a really good job in that regard. The thing I would disagree with him on that he said, this is coming from experience, raising 5 boys. He can't be sitting around wondering why he's not playing. He needs to go and sit down and have a meeting with Steve Kerr. Coach, what's the problem? What am I not doing? What do I need to do to get the play? That you got to be a grown-up and do that. In fact, if anything, I also say Steve should have called him in. If the coach, I had this happen with one of my boys, I'm not going to mention who, I said, well, go in and talk to the freaking coach.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the coach should have called. It should have been doing it. It should have been the coach, first of all, that should go and talk to a player when something this dramatic happens. And so I would have to say, Steve should have gone and talked to him. I will, somebody will jump all over this. Rick Barry's criticizing Steve Kerr. Well, I'm just saying in this instance, if I were him with the experience and things that I had going on, and when I had a chance to do some coaching as well and raising kids, he needed to go, he needed to talk to his player because this is different. After every game, when I coached in the minor leagues, if I didn't play a guy that usually played a lot, the first thing I do after the game is take him aside and explain to him exactly why he didn't play. The last thing in the world, you want to let a player go back home and be wondering in his head what's going on because he's liable to blow into something that it isn't. So you need to set the story, set it straight. Here's why. Here's the reason. He might not like the reason, but at least he knows the reason. And he can't be fantasizing or dreaming up something that shouldn't be even discussed. So, yeah, so that's kind of what I would say there is that if he's not going to have that meeting or he hasn't had it, then he needs to have that meeting. So he just understands. Now, how much longer that's going to be a factor, but if they can find a way to get through this series, yeah, it could be a big factor for the rest of the way, without question.
Trying to push emotions aside on this, because I do think, look, he's very young, and I've expressed time and time again that this has been just utter mismanagement of talent. I don't appreciate that this distraction, this story is happening now in the first round of the playoffs. I'm a little surprised that it's gotten to this point where there's miscommunication. And then again, there's people like Vic Candia in the chat who writes, I think Kerr tried talking to Jonathan Kuminga. And this is where I hear and see all these assumptions everywhere. Like, I don't know why you think that. I don't know why you feel the need to say you think that. You don't know that. What we do know.
Wait a second. First of all, when that tried, if he wanted to talk to him, he could talk to him. He said, "I'm team." He's the player, and that's his boss. I mean, come on. Let me try. He tried to talk to him, and Kuminga, I'm not talking to you. Come on, that's what that's ridiculous. All right. Well, seriously, it's not. I mean, there's no way. And one person said it's on the coach. That's what I said. I think that Steve needed to go and talk to him. What I'm saying, if the coach doesn't, and you have something like that going on, you need to go to the coach.
And you're absolutely right. And it's just crazy to me that we're at this point now. And the reason why I what we do know. Sorry, this is what I was trying to say here, is that back in 2024. Is that when it was when both Kuminga and Moses Moody, their agents, in literally like a 24-hour window, both came out publicly? The players didn't do this, the agents did, but they both came out and leaked to media that they were unhappy with their roles on the team. And then Steve Kerr, and basically this is what came out in the press, is that Steve Kerr let Kuminga know after the fact that he has an open door policy, right? And that he welcomes players coming in anytime. He said this publicly, and then Jonathan Kuminga said, I didn't know he had an open door policy. Now I know. And that's what we do know, is that Steve Kerr has said he's welcoming, that he's approachable, and that Jonathan Kuminga has said, okay, now I know that, and this is where we are. And that was like, what, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, whatever it was. It's just, for me, I just don't appreciate that this is happening now. I don't understand how a player who's third on the team in scoring is getting DNP'd for 3 straight games at this point in the season. But here we are. And game 3, Bloomer Wave Vibes writes in the chat, and this is a question for you, sir. Is game 3 a big opportunity for Jonathan Kuminga? We can't read Steve Kerr's mind. We have no idea what's going to happen, but at least if you could take a guess.
Every game is a big opportunity for Jonathan Kuminga. Okay. And if Jimmy Butler doesn't play and he gets to play, which more than likely would be the case, then yes, this is an enormous opportunity for him to go out there and just kick butt and just play one hell of a basketball game and show Steve Kerr that he can help him. Now, is that going to change things? Not necessarily, because what he said he didn't like was Kuminga in there with Jimmy Butler in that lineup. So if he goes out and has a great game, what is he proving? He's proving that he can do a nice job, and it's nice if Jimmy can't play. But then if Jimmy comes back, what is he going to do then? That would make it, you want to have an interesting storyline? This would be the greatest thing. It'd be fun to see this happen. If I was a script writer, here we go. Okay, we're going to have the thing. So Jimmy Butler's not going to play. Jonathan Kuminga start the game, and Jonathan Kuminga's have a great game and help the Warriors win, and they're going to go up 2 games to 1 in the series with another game coming up at home. This is incredible. Well, now all of a sudden, if Jimmy comes back for game 4, what does Steve Kerr do? Seriously.
No, it's a great question.
Based upon the past and what happened, you saw what Jonathan can do, but he did it without Jimmy Butler in there. And his whole thing is Jimmy and him and somebody else in there doesn't work. I don't see it work.
Well, and it begs another question. Like, was there a breakdown in communication between the front office and the coaching staff in the sense that did they not tell Steve this is the move they were going to make? And did Steve not tell them, well, if you do this, it's going to make Kuminga unplayable? Or is this something he just came to the realization of with 3 games left to play, or 2 games?
Yeah, I don't know.
1 game left to play in the regular season.
I don't know the answer as to when he felt that. I mean, well, obviously he couldn't have felt that way until after he got Jimmy Butler, because they never played together. Right. So the decision as to this doesn't work when he's in there with Butler and whoever it is doesn't work. He didn't find that out until he watched them play, and that's the decision he came to, that it didn't work. And to come out and basically say that, I mean, it's being truthful. I mean, if that's the way you feel as a coach, then you got to go with the way that you feel. I
wonder,
Rick,
we got a $4.99 donation here from Let the Jet.
How did the analytics show when those guys are in there as compared to other ones?
There just isn't. The analytics is a hard one this season, particularly because you have such small sample sizes, right? Jimmy Butler was acquired on February 8th. The 3-person lineup that Kerr referred to that doesn't fit was Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga, who played 38 minutes together. There were a minus 26. But then when you add Stephen Curry to the mix, he played with them for 23 minutes, and there were minus 11. And then when you add Brandon Podziemski to the mix as a 5-man lineup, and this is where I don't get it. You would think those are probably your 5 best players, right, on paper: Steph, Podziemski, Kuminga, Draymond, Jimmy Butler. And if there's someone else I'm missing, please let me know. But those 3 have only played 13 minutes together all season. And yet when they played together, they were +2. They actually play winning basketball. This is just a subjective thing.
Okay,
This is just.
I understand, but it still is information that can't be disputed because it's the stats are the stats.
Right.
And so this is where, as for analytics, as a coach, I would be interested in something like that. Okay, because it's going to help me out. So why would I not? I'm a reasonably intelligent guy. This lineup has only played this minute, and they were ahead. And the other one, let's give this lineup a shot. Now, it could change as far as that goes, depending upon your opponent, obviously.
Yeah.
And so that has a lot to do with it. And that's why it's nice to know what 5 guys did well and how they do against that lineup and other 5, and then know each of the teams, which one worked the best against that team. To me, from an analytics standpoint, that would be worthwhile to know. And so when we played the next time, I'll put the lineup in that did better, and they start against that team in the matchup. So you can get into that stuff analytically, and I can appreciate that, and I think that's useful stuff. But a lot of the other stuff, gut feeling, what somebody is, sometimes you got to go with your gut. It's almost like you play trivia. Go with your first response usually.
Yeah, I guess I just don't trust his gut. Let the Jets fly. 499 writing, Rick, I do think Kuminga is over-exaggerating his situation a bit. There's no way an NBA coach isn't telling a star why he isn't playing. What are your thoughts on that sentiment?
Well, I mean, he didn't say that he had to talk to him. He said, I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking about it. So I don't know if he knows. I don't know if he's had that conversation with Kerr. I mean, that's just an assumption. I'm not exaggerating anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just talking reality.
No, he's asking, is Kuminga exaggerating?
No, I'm not saying he's exaggerating it. I mean, he didn't exaggerate anything. He told the truth and what he felt. He doesn't want to have to think about it, but we don't know if he's ever had the conversation. He didn't say, he talked to me, I didn't know it, I don't want to think about it. He just said, I don't want to think about it. It's almost like he didn't, and made it seem to me like he didn't know. And all I'm saying is that he needs to make sure that he knows. And that needs to be done. And either the coach had to meet with him, which I think should have been the first priority, because he changed, dramatically took a guy who's, one of your top scorers, and he's getting 3 DNPs in a row. And if you hadn't talked to him during the course of those 3 games, I'd be shocked if Steve hasn't talked to him. Shocked.
That's what Kuminga's saying. And, I haven't heard any pushback on that. Armando Lara, the professor in the chat's adding that the lineup of Steph, this is crazy. And this is where I have my gripes, that Stephen Curry, Moses Moody, Kuminga, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond have never played together on the court. That's wild to me. Doesn't surprise me, but it's wild to me.
That's really surprising that you wouldn't have tried something like that as well. I mean, I think from the standpoint of analytically, with the way they look at stuff, and in certain games, I mean, hey, depending how you are, you're doing let's try this lineup and let's experiment and try to find the best lineups, and then, because that kind of detail is important.
Agreed.
Now maybe you say, and it doesn't mean that the next game is going to be exactly the same way. Obviously, over a period of time, if you're able to do it, you're going to get a little more information as to how consistent it could be. But it's information that I think that is certainly worthwhile.
Choboy in the chat is asking, what was the Warriors' record the last 10 games before Kuminga got hurt? Here's what I do know record-wise. The Warriors were 18-16 when Jonathan Kuminga got hurt. The month of December, which is the only sample size he's ever had of spanning a month or more, where he's actually averaged 30 minutes a game, he put up over 21 points. He put up over 6 rebounds a game, shot 37% from 3, I think 46% from the field overall. The numbers were fantastic. Net rating was good. They were 18-16. December was the toughest month of the season for the Warriors schedule-wise. And then Choboy follows this up. And Rick, I'd love to know if you agree with him on this sentiment. He's accusing me of being too high on Kuminga. My entire point has always been, when he plays and the sample size is 30 minutes or more, he plays great. And he's a former number 7 pick in a high draft. I also view this as an asset being mismanaged. I don't necessarily think Kuminga could be I have no idea what to think of Kuminga. That's always been my question mark, because we've never seen a healthy sample size. I don't know. Rick, any thoughts on that?
No, I think I don't think that he's too high on him, Choboy. I think that Cyrus likes the potential that he sees in him based upon how he has performed and how, when he's given the additional time to play. Let me tell you, it's hard. You only learn so much sitting on the bench. You have to play to really get better. And so, given that opportunity, and his statistics were very impressive, playing over 30 minutes, that shows you that, come on, there's very few players in the NBA can average 20 points a game over any stretch of time.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's getting the rebounds. He's really athletic. I liked his potential. He sees the court. He's not selfish. I remember watching him when he was at the Summer League before he became, played for the team the first year. And I was impressed with what I saw. Now, my biggest concern has been that he hasn't improved as much I would have liked to see him improve from season to season. However, he's also a situation where he wasn't getting a chance to play as much to do it, and given the opportunity. And if Jonathan Kuminga went to another team that kind of let him play 35 minutes a game, and he's liable to put up some really great numbers. And I think he'd become an even better player than he is, because he has some of those innate abilities within him that he never gets a chance to show that much, because it's hard to play 18 minutes in the game. And you go in for 6 here and 7. That's not easy to do. And so I'm with Cyrus on this one, that if he put up those kinds of numbers, given those minutes, it's pretty hard to understand why he doesn't get to play more.
40 games in his career, he's played 30 minutes or more, and the numbers are very similar to those December numbers I just read to you. And we're going to move on from the Kuminga thing, because I don't want to tire this subject down. I'm sorry?
Because you get depressed.
It is depressing. Because there's a lot of other stuff still to talk about here. But great questions in the chat. Shifting gears real fast. Moving on to, actually, let me do this real fast, because I got one more ad read I got to do here. And this is courtesy of MyBookie, who's joining us, who's sponsoring us for the postseason. And this is a good time for me to read the stats. Gambling wise, for game 3, the Golden State Warriors are 3-point favorites at home in game 3. The over under for that game, 204 points. In case you don't know what that means, 204 represents the number the bookies think the two teams combined are going to score. And then you decide whether that's going to go higher than that number or lower. 204 is a very low number, especially for the Warriors. And that represents how defensive of a battle this series has been. Scoring has plummeted. And so if you join MyBookie, you can bet on that. The NBA playoffs are your chance to score big, whether you're riding with favorites or cheering for the underdog. Every three-pointer, dunk, and buzzer beater is an opportunity to win at MyBookie. And if you use the promo code MM50, M as in Mary, 50, MyBookie will match your deposit and toss in an extra $25. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only at MyBookie. Rick, I know you're not a gambling man, sir, but does any thoughts come to your mind when you hear that the Warriors are 3-point favorites in Houston tomorrow?
Well,
in San Francisco tomorrow.
I'm shocked at being, coming up. I guess that's assuming Jimmy Butler is going to play. I'm sure if Jimmy Butler doesn't play, I'm sure that's going to change immediately when that word comes out. And I wonder how you do that. If you put your bet in now and do it, then all of a sudden Jimmy Butler doesn't play. You're still getting. You might want to take Houston if that's the case. So that's the whole decision. That's why it's called gambling, folks. It's like when I go, it's like fishing, right? I said, my wife says, "Yeah, but you just like catching." I says, "Yes, I do. That's true." But, because fishing to me is catching. If I'm not catching fish, I'm not really fishing. So. This is kind of a similar situation over here. So, yeah, I knew. Back in my young days, I knew some ladies. She's very young. This is a young gal though. Had tons of money and stuff. Loved to bet on baseball. She would be betting on how many hits in an inning. It was unbelievable, the things. And that's through a real bookie, not MyBookie. MyBookie can be. You see, that's the line you should be. MyBookie can be your bookie. That's the line. They need to use that line right there. I just gave a good.
MyBookie can be your bookie. I love it.
Can be your bookie.
I'll relay that message, sir, and I'll say it came from. Actually, I'll just clip this. I'll clip this little piece right here and send it to them. They're going to love it.
That's the perfect thing. Let MyBookie be your bookie.
So I want to shift gears here, because Draymond Green, in my opinion, got robbed. He got screwed over for the Defensive Player of the Year award. And this is no disrespect to Evan Mobley. Side note, is Clifford Ray your former teammate on the 75 Warriors? And I am going to ask you about that documentary, because we're in the postseason. There's no news about it. I think that's egregious, but let's touch on that in a little bit. Your former teammate, Clifford Ray, was coaching. I think it was voluntary, but Clifford's such a good guy, and I'm guessing he's just enjoying the time he's spending with the Cavaliers. Is he still with them?
He's been doing stuff for them. Yeah, and I guarantee you, there's no doubt why some of these guys from the Cleveland Cavaliers, the big guys, have gotten really good.
Yes.
Okay, and know why? Because it's the Clifford Ray syndrome.
That's why I brought it up.
Every place that Clifford Ray has been, the centers have become better players. And this guy was the lowest paid guy on Doc Rivers' freaking payroll. I mean, it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
But just look at where he's been, the litany of stuff. First time All-Star, Chris Webber. He was with him back in Washington.
Yes.
I mean, look what he did. Look what he did for Dampier and Donald Foyle. Got them huge multi-million-dollar contracts.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
and the Celtics, they won a championship.
Baby in Houston and Perkins and those guys. Clifford Ray.
Look what he's doing now in Cleveland. I know you.
Yeah. So
Rick,
anyway,
you've been
that's why
saying this.
Mobley's there.
You've been saying this for years. You're the one who said that Clifford Ray should have been advising James Wiseman. Who knows what would have happened in that situation? Well, he's with Cleveland. You see the results, and Evan Mobley, his guy, wins Defensive Player of the Year. But I do think Draymond Green was screwed over. And when I see this happen, when I see Draymond Green, who's going to go down in the history books as one of the greatest defenders ever, very few players can guard 1 through 5 as efficiently as he can. And for him to go down with his resume as only having 1 Defensive Player of the Year award, while a guy like Rudy Gobert has 4, is egregious. And what it makes me think of, Rick, is you. And not just you and Kobe Bryant, because I feel like you, Kobe Bryant, and Draymond Green are 3 individuals who would rather be authentic than play the game how the media thinks you should play it. And correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, please. But you 3, and you and Kobe especially, you 2 had like this killer mentality. All you wanted was to win and achieve greatness. And I respect that so effing much, sir. But the media, who I have very little respect for, wants their individuals to act and behave a certain manner. And I think that's why Draymond Green got screwed this year. I think that's why Kobe Bryant only had 1 MVP in his career, even though he's going down as one of the greatest ever. Why you had 0 MVPs. I'm so grateful you had that 1 Finals MVP. Your reaction to everything I just said here and Draymond Green not winning Defensive Player of the Year.
Well, thank you for so many kind words and comparisons there. But I would say this, that I did have a burning desire and I really cared about winning and achieving greatness. You said, never in my life that I ever was trying to achieve greatness to think even that I would be great. That thought didn't even enter my mind. My thing, I went out there and played as hard as I could play when I put that uniform on, every time I put it on, in one goal only, to win. And play unselfishly.
Yes, sir.
That was my hope. That was me. That's who I hope I could be remembered as, because there's only 1/4 of one game that I ever can remember playing as a professional in my life that I mentally wasn't ready to play. And if I physically could have kicked myself in the ass, I would have done it. And I was so upset with myself, and I vowed, I said, I will never, ever let that happen again. And I didn't. And so that's what I take most pride in as far as my career goes. And as far as Draymond, it's not as egregious as it is when they have the MVP of the NBA, when it should be the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. They should do the same thing with the Defensive Player of the Year, because they're playing a different schedule against different players. Who knows how they would have matched up if they had to play a bunch of games against the other conference and the teams that were there. Maybe they wouldn't have looked so good. So why not have a Defensive Player of the Year for the Eastern Conference and Western Conference? From the standpoint, I'm shocked the NBA, that's 2 more sponsors I can have to bring more money in and honor 2 more players that deserve to be honored. It just makes all the business sense in the world. Why they don't do it, I don't know. Now, if you're going to pick and say, how is it not the same? I say, because it's not the same as the MVP. The reason being is that you still can tell a lot from a guy how good a defender he is and what he does. And so, but they're not playing against the same teams for a whole season. That's my point, to negate that. And generally, like you say, most of the time, it seems that the big guy are the ones they're going after, the one that's blocking shots and they feel has more of an impact on the game. Yes, only in that area. But what about the guy that disrupts the guy who's running the other team and causes him to have a bad game, which throws off the entire team, right? Except the one guy protecting the basket. And so anyway, that's my take on that. Draymond.
Good take. It's a good take. I want to share this real fast with the audience, just to remind folks of the player that you were in your career. This graphic shows the most points scored in a playoff game in NBA history. And Stephen Curry is on this graphic, but he's not on this actual list. I don't know who made this graphic, but they should have added you. And these are the all-time leading individual scores, meaning one game, the all-time marks in the postseason. This picture shows Allen Iverson, who once scored 54 points. Here is you, sir. You once scored 55 points in a playoff game. Do you mind describing what going back to that game and telling the audience?
Yeah, well, the thing I remember most about that game is I missed 6 free throws.
Did you underhand? Were you underhanded at that point?
I think I missed a whole bunch of free throws and should have had 60 points. Over 60.
What? How?
I hated missing free throws, but you have to understand, in that game also when I was playing, I played with an ankle that I had to get shot up at halftime, before the game and at halftime to play. And I didn't get to practice. And I just said, geez, I wonder what I could have done in that series if I was healthy.
Oh. And going through the rest of the list real fast here. How did you miss 6 free throws? Like, was it because you weren't feeling well?
I played a lot. I just, whatever it was. I mean, my ankle was not, I couldn't even feel my ankle. And
oh my God, you couldn't feel you. You lost the game.
It was a total anomaly for me to miss. For me to miss 2 free throws in the game was like crazy. Even if I was shooting 10 or 12 or 15. So that one, was a nightmare for me.
Third all time, correct, in free throw percentage. I think it's
something like that. But here's the thing: that counts your entire career. But right now, I would still argue, and I do this because it's the only part of the game you can be selfish, is that I still think I'm the best free throw shooter because my last 6 years I shot over 92.7%, 92%, something like that. And in my last 2 years, I averaged over 94% a game. And so, Steph has been the best. I think he's at 91 something point this season, whatever. But if you take the whole collective career, because I played so many other years, but those last 6 years is an indication of what I could have been. And I said, geez, what numbers could I have put up if I was shooting the way I shot my last 6 in the beginning when I was shooting over 10 free throws a game? I could have put up some hellacious numbers, and I might have been able to even do what I'm still disappointed that I didn't have the record. I wanted to make 100 consecutive free throws in competition. I had the record for a long time at 60. But if I was with all those free throws I was shooting back in those days, if I had my form at the end of my career, I think I might have been able to do it because I'm a much better free throw shooter at the end of my career. And that's the irony, right? I always tell people, kids, when I talk to them at different places, always try to get better. Never be satisfied with what you're doing. And here I was, and that's why I admire Tiger Woods so much. The best golfer in the world changed his swing to get better. I was willing to change my free throw technique, which was the best in the league anyway, and make it better. That's the approach you have to life.
100% agree with you. Great advice there, sir. And going through this real fast. And side note, folks, as you watch the NBA playoffs, you're going to see this man next to me, his name show up a lot because a lot of NBA postseason records are still to this day held by you, or at least you're in the top 5 of a lot of these records. Going through the list, by the way, real fast, the highest all-time postseason scorers, Dame Lillard, 55 points one time. Wilt Chamberlain once scored 56 in the postseason. That's a career high for him. I was at this game where Charles Barkley dropped 56 on the Warriors to sweep them 3-0. And he did that largely because he was motivated by Chris Webber and how well Webber played in the 1 year he was with the Warriors. Charles Barkley shows up, drops 56. Jimmy Butler, a.k.a. Jimmy Buckets, once scored 56. Let's see if that happens in the postseason for the Warriors. And is that it? I'm sure there's some. I thought Michael Jordan's on this list too, but my screen either has frozen on me or I don't know what's going on there. So there you go. I just had to show that graphic because I thought it was awesome. Draymond Green was also accused by a few people, Rick, and I think this is ludicrous, of initiating, of being the catalyst for Jimmy Butler having his feet knocked out from under him in that attempted rebound. Amen Thompson basically, and it was inadvertent. I'm not sitting here accusing Amen of doing anything wrong, but he did take Jimmy's legs out from under him. But the video evidence is very clear that that Draymond Green had nothing to do with that. Yet Dillon Brooks, who is a rabble rouser, who is a shit starter, he has this to say. And Rick, I don't even know what your opinion is about Dillon Brooks. I can't wait to hear it, but let's hear from Dillon Brooks first. The man who literally knocked out GP2 almost for the entirety of the 2022 postseason. And Dillon Brooks in this clip is blaming Draymond Green for Jimmy Butler's fall. Let's take a listen.
No, I think dirty player is Draymond giving a little push. That's regular basketball players do, and Jimmy's fighting the air for a rebound, and stuff happens. A man's not a dirty player. He has no anything to do with being a dirty player, and we're not worried about that. We're on to the next game, and we hope Jimmy can get better. No, I think.
And before I get your opinion, sir, one more clip I'm going to play because it's all part of the same story. Steve Kerr addressed the media today and was asked about Dillon Brooks' comments where he called Draymond Green dirty for a play that he had nothing to do with. Here's Steve Kerr.
He defended his team for not being dirty and called Draymond dirty today. I'm sure that over all the years you've heard that a few times, and maybe you've gotten pretty good at ignoring the chatter that comes from in a playoff series.
Yeah. Dillon said that? Huh. Interesting.
I'm guessing the reason why Steve Kerr is smiling like that is because Dillon Brooks just gave them bulletin board material, not to mention it's just asinine. Your take on the whole thing. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on Dillon Brooks, the individual, as well.
Well, I don't think you call somebody dirty in an interview talking about something that you don't know for sure. It wasn't a blatant thing. If it was, that that the way the officials do something, they would have thrown Draymond out of the green or would have got a flagrant foul or something. Come on.
Yes.
Seriously, it's Draymond. I mean, the officials are going to ignore that. So that's the pot calling the kettle black.
Yes.
Right there. Okay. Yeah, that's what that is. That was crazy for him to make a statement like that. And you're right, and he did. That is billboard fodder to put in there. So I don't know what guys think about sometimes when they talk to him. And Steve did the right thing. What is he supposed to say?
Yeah, I think he reacted perfectly. Yeah, I love the reaction because it's what do you do when a crazy person says crazy things? You just smile.
I'll say, hey, everybody's entitled to their opinion. That's what's beautiful about America.
Oh my God!
You may be crucified over what you said, but you are entitled to say it.
Exactly. I want to play this clip real fast, Rick, as we start to wrap it up here. And this is a clip of you. This was the specific date was April 17th, 1977, a little over 48 years ago, where the game was, I think, a lot more physical than it is now. And this was your team, the Golden State Warriors, playing the Detroit Pistons. And you weren't the catalyst for this. You were mostly playing peacemaker here. But I thought I'd like to go back because I don't think the NBA is going to penalize me for showing a clip from that long ago. Here is the Warriors and the Pistons having some fun. And yours truly right next to me, Rick Barry, was right in the mix. Here we go.
That is look at Money and there's a fight that breaks out between Dudley. A fight breaks out between Dudley and Money. And look at them going, is picking up Money and trying to keep Dudley away. Barry tackles Dudley. Dudley is just bringing it in. A fan hits Elmel Carr and Bob Lanier is after him. Lanier is going into the stands after the fan. Also the assistant coaches are in the stands. We are standing here. The fan is fighting with Bob Lanier. Bob Lanier and Eberhard are just moments away from us. The left and the right to the head. A hard right to the head by Leon Douglas to the fan. Eberhard is holding on to the fan. The fan is being hit by the fan. The fan is being hit by the policeman. And the fans now are involved in the fight here at the Oakland Alameda Coliseum. The fan took a cheap shot at ML Carr. There is the fan right there who reached across the table and took a cheap shot at ML Carr. And they're going to kick him out of the auditorium. And well, they should. Another fist fight has broken out. Both benches have emptied here. The action at the Coliseum, and the fan has just interfered again. Well, and Bob Lanier and also Leon Douglas is involved in it now. That looks like in the corner over there, Roger Brown at 6'11", with his warm-up still on, and Bob Lanier moving over into the fans, and Bedlam has broken out here at Oakland. The score is 67-64, 6:10 to go in the third period. A fist fight breaking out between Charles Dudley and Eric Money precipitated all this. Now the fans are back where they belong in the stands. You see Bob Lanier arguing with the officials along with Herbie Brown, and now Al Allen is coming down there to see what's going on. Herbie Brown is incensed because he does not think that Rick Barry should be over there talking to the officials. Both officials are now conferring at midcourt to determine if anyone will be thrown out of this game.
Yeah. Wait a minute, dug it through the point, right? It dug it through the point, then the guy retaliated. Right? Okay, now we got a full fight. All right, do you want a dismissal? Wait a minute. Do you want a dismissal or not? Let's play the offensive foul. We got a double foul. Two coaches. Everybody, if the man is foul, he's got to go too. Bullshit! Wait a minute. He's going to fucking go.
I loved every second of that, sir. Your reaction to watching it for the first time in who knows how long.
Well, I haven't seen that. That just brings back a lot of freaking memories. You talk about the Palace, the Malays at the Palace, or whatever the hell they called that thing with Steven Jackson and the other guys. We had that there. I mean, these guys are lucky. But here's the difference in the world because of technology, right? With ESPN and all the other stuff, the publicity that got, and because of the exposure that the NBA has now and back then, it was big news. This was every bit as almost crazy as that one. Not they got up into the stands and all, but this was really serious stuff here. And there was a heck of a fight between Charles and Eric Money. They really got into it. There was a jump kick.
I saw a jump kick.
That was quite a melee. Yeah, the NBA would probably not too happy to want to see that one floating around out there. But if you were able to get it, it's out there, folks. Yeah, that was really interesting. And we were just arguing about the fact I just wanted to make sure that they threw both of the guys out of the game. I mean, it's an obvious thing that both of them should get thrown out. I don't know what he makes a big deal. Two guys should have got thrown out of the game for sure. Nowadays, the whole team would have been out because you can't leave the bench.
Yep. Exactly. I just thought, and the police is now hitting.
I had not seen that. I had not seen that. Seriously, that whole thing. I never have ever seen it before. It was really probably more entertaining for me than it was for you. But watching what was going on, that was quite a to-do, no question. Because they were up in the stands and the fans were there, and they didn't go as far up into the stands.
Correct. Yeah, it was pretty close. But and there's so many incidents like that just have never been broadcasted or replayed or anything. And I just randomly stumbled across that, I think, on Instagram. If you want to see this, if you're listening to the podcast, not the YouTube show, it is available on my Threads account, @DogWild. They posted it there. So go enjoy. It's a riot. Any final thoughts? Game 3 is coming up. I feel like we've covered every subject. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but any sentiments that we missed, Rick? Anything you want to add?
I had this before. I feel like this is like Groundhog Day again. Remember when Jimmy Butler, we didn't know how he was going to be when he got kicked and stuff? This is almost the same thing. My main concern is Jimmy Butler going to be able to play? I mean, that's the most important thing. And if he is able to play, can he play reasonably close to the level that he's capable of playing at? We'll see. And then again, if he doesn't, then we have a whole nother sub-story. Jonathan Kuminga. What is he going to do in this situation? I'm talking what we talked about earlier. If you just joined us now, folks, you got to go back and rewind or something, because we had a very interesting situation as to what could happen if Jimmy Butler doesn't play and Jonathan Kuminga were to play really well. That's a whole nother story. Opens up Pandora's box. Will be fun to talk about.
Well, I'm in all honesty, even if Jimmy plays, I think it's still fascinating, because if Jimmy comes back, does that mean Kuminga's DNP'd again? Does he now have to play?
Well, under the circumstances that it existed prior to that, what would be the assumption? He sat for 3 games. He only got in because he got hurt. Right?
This whole thing is crazy. Rick,
so now if Jimmy does play, is he going to get in at all? Probably it all depends on how well Jimmy plays.
Right.
And if Jimmy's hurt and can't play, well, then he'll get in.
Is it a must-win in your opinion for the Warriors?
Yeah, I think it's a real important win for them. I mean, you don't want to give. You got home court back. I mean, home court hasn't been what it was during some of the great runs that they had, but it's still the home court, and the fans are still awesome. And to have to give that up would be difficult. Does it mean they can't come back from it? Well, I think it'd all be predicated on just how well Jimmy is and how well they play. But obviously, this is a very important game for the Warriors. I mean, I think it's a really important game because if Houston wins, now they've got home court back again. So they're probably going to feel real good about it. They did what they had to do. They got one of the wins. Hopefully, they'll fall into the same malaise that happened to the Warriors and what happened to the Minnesota Timberwolves against the Lakers when they won the first game and blew the second because their head wasn't in it. Because hopefully that'll happen if the Rockets do win, that'll happen to them in game 2. They've hey, we got home court back, and then they'll screw up and the Warriors get a win. Then you go back and now it becomes a 3-game series.
It's I saw a stat where in series that are tied 1-1, the team that wins game 3 goes on to win the series 75% of the time. This stat means nothing in the grand scheme of things, but it's just an interesting stat.
It does mean something.
In what regard?
You're a bookie. My bookie, who is, hopefully you're a bookie. My bookie would say, certainly.
Good point. My
bookie would say this is a good bet. I mean, 75%. I mean, take anything in life where if you could do 75%.
Good point.
I mean, life insurance people only get 1 out of 18.
Good point. No, Rick, I love that you brought gambling into the equation. I 100% agree with you there, sir. Absolutely right.
75% is pretty amazing. So I would say that if that's the case, this is a very important game.
Yes, sir. And what's important as well are some of the organizations that you're a part of. You mentioned AlloMD, I believe, early in the show.
AlloMD, Rick Barry, RB24 is the code for AlloMD. And then you can do also the same code would take place for Medicaleaf is another one of the companies that do stuff for that. I wish I had gotten a call back and could get Jimmy Butler to be putting some of this on his injury. I think it could really help him. RB24, the code to get a nice discount, MEDICILEF. You see it scrolling down the bottom there. And then, of course, just had a nice talk actually with some people to get some investors and stuff to take up to a new level for Go Sleeves, which is just an absolutely amazing product. GoSleeves.com. Use the code. I never played pickleball without wearing these sleeves. They're just incredible. They're great for recovery. They've got kinesio tape built into them. I mean, there's so many good things. Just go read about it. Runners are going nuts over. We got tons of football players wearing it now. This thing can become a big deal. And that's why I'm out trying to raise a few bucks for them to do it. I wish I had my $60 million NBA contract, because then I could I would fund these guys.
Well, something tells me you wouldn't even be a part of these guys if you had that contract. But is the key to success for these operations to actually be successful getting into the chain stores? Like, is the key getting into Walgreens and the Rite Aids? Like, is that what you're aiming?
Not today's world. Big box stuff, no, it's not. It's not that critical. I mean, what you can do over social media. I mean, look what Amazon's doing.
Good point.
Come on. I mean, seriously, no. We just got to get this. They got some technology. I can't wait. I just hope that we raise the funds that we need to be able to make these new things up that Roy has designed. I mean, my lower back, the stuff that they can put on there and that would help me. Oh, it'd be unbelievable. Great products. I mean, all of them are great products. And for the AlloMD, the product there you want to look for is called Ultimate Repair X. Ultimate Repair X, URX. Just go into the product thing. But that code, by the way, for women, if they do it, buy a nice gift for your wife. It's got some amazing aloe products and stuff there that you can use for all different kinds of things.
Oh, we'll start hyping that up for Mother's Day, which is a month on month.
Top of the line stuff for that when Mother's Day coming up. Go in there, you can get a great deal. Use the RB24 code on any of the products there.
Good call. And Rick is available on social media as well, regardless of the platform. It's Rick24Berry, 24 representing your playing number, which hangs retired on the rafters of Chase Center, and hopefully they'll respect it, unlike some other schools who are way too flippant, in my opinion, when it comes to retired jersey numbers. If you retire it, it's supposed to stay there and not be reused at some point. Kind of defeats the whole purpose of the word retire. If you're not actually retiring it, but I'm guessing no one will ever wear that number again for the Warriors. Number 24, the number of your idol.
I would hope
Willie Mays. I think, is idol a strong word, or is that fair to say?
That was my boyhood hero idol, because I was a baseball player. I was a baseball player before a basketball player.
Yes, sir.
And I wore 24. My father taught me how to do the basket catch that Willie Mays made famous out in the outfield. And I mean, that was my guy. And that's why I say, what a world. I mean, what a life. I grow up and have my boyhood hero become a personal friend and get to speak and be the first speaker at a birthday celebration for his 80th birthday at Bally's. Unbelievable story. I mean, and how I met him. It's one of the cool parts of my life.
Beautiful. That is a very cool thing. Bravo, sir. And I'm blessed. I feel like the audience is blessed for you to grace us with your presence each week. Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure. Enjoy your weekend. Folks, enjoy your weekend as well. We're back at this tomorrow night. Game 3, Warriors-Rockets. We shall see what happens. Yes, sir.
Yeah, U.S. Pickleball is opening. I got to play singles for the U.S. Open, so Sunday. See ya.
Good luck. All right, well, you got a busy weekend there. There you go, sir. And thank you to everyone again. As always, Rick, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you. Go Warriors. Thank you, everyone. Bye.